And our coverage of the Kilpatrick corruption trial continues this evening. Joining me now is legal analyst and Wayne State Law Professor Peter Henning. Professor, a lot of focus on the money, and today Carlita Kilpatrick, the former mayor's wife, was brought into testimony in court. Money that went from a state grant to her in terms of payment for work or work that wasn't done. What was the purpose of this testimony?
What the prosecutors have been doing here in the first few days of the trial is to try to show the flow of money and to try to build their case from the outside in. That is, that the former mayor and the other defendants received large amounts of money, came from different sources, and then what we can expect over the next couple of weeks is they're going to have people on the inside. For example, like Derek Miller, to say, here's what happened to the money. So you've got to bring the money in. That's what today and the last few days have been about.
And this dates back to his time as a legislator back in 2000, so years and years ago.
Yeah, and they're trying to show that this was a pattern, that this didn't suddenly begin. It wasn't that as soon as he was elected mayor, he suddenly decided to start taking bribes or soliciting bribes, but that in fact it predated it. And of course the defense is going to try to say this was politics. This is how things were done.
At one point, we're told that one of the jurors rolled her eyes when defense attorney Jim Thomas was questioning one of the witnesses. If that reaction occurs in the courtroom among jurors, is that a concern?
Well, certainly it has to be a concern. I mean, there's a thin line between being aggressive and overbearing, and you're always concerned, how is the jury responding to the questioning? This is especially hard for the defense lawyers because they have to go after the credibility of the witnesses. They have to raise questions about them, but it can come across as being very overbearing, and you have to watch yourself. It's not an easy thing to do. This is, law is a little bit of a contact sport, at least litigation is, and this is the contact sport part of it.
All right, and then one last question, and that's back to the question of this money that was funneled when the former mayor was a state legislator to the nonprofit in Detroit where his wife ultimately was paid. The defense made the claim that this isn't the first time that this has occurred, citing the case of the Speaker of the House and his brother, who was paid for operating the state fair. Does that work?
Well, it could. At least it can raise a question in the jury's mind that, yeah, this is how politics works. We may not be comfortable with it, but is it a crime? Does it rise to the level of being a criminal violation? And what the defense wants to do at this point, and will do throughout the case, is to peck away a little bit, say, well, but is it really a crime? It may be unethical, but that's not necessarily something that should result in being sent to prison.
Professor, thank you. Appreciate your insight as always.
Thank you, Dave.
Professor Peter Henning from Wayne State Law School joining us with his expert view on this trial. And